world is a service world today. The US is already at about 85%, maybe even a little more. And we've now got to look at the other big trend that's out there, which is the trend towards information. When you take these two big trends towards information and towards services, the confluence, information services, are now the biggest part of the US economy. So the horizontal axis here, looking in this direction, is products to services, very traditional, evolution of the economy. The vertical is the slight addition. So this is a kind of double dichotomy where we look not only at the movement to services, but also at the movement to information from material-centric or physical-centric. 85% of the economy is already in services in terms of GNP value add, and about 60% is in information-intensive sectors. And again, you put those two trends together, and the large part of the economy is information-intensive services, and this is in terms of GNP share. Job share also breaks down in a very similar way, and since 2001, though, information workers have more or less matched physical service workers. The bottom line here is that's the thing we've got to look at for the future. The bottom part of the right-hand side of that diagram, this is where all of us live. This is where more and more of the economy is going to go, and not just the US economy, but every economy in the world. Okay, so service industrialization, what do we mean by that? And is it the same as manufacturing industrialization, the first wave, second wave, however you want to think about it? And the answer is yes, but. So what's industrialization? At a very high level, it's the use of power. But whereas power meant electricity and steam and oil and so on and so forth, here it's processing power, but without the same levels of energy. And energy usage per flop or per operation is actually dropping. The process of standardization is also a little bit different. Standardization for physical products occurred at the level of the product. By definition, for services, there is no product. So standardization occurred at the level of software processes first, and is starting to migrate up to where we are seeing standardization of businesses as well. This is going to be a little bit slower, a little bit harder to see. It's not as obvious as making all the pots the same. All the cars have 4 wheels and so on and so forth. It's not as obvious, but there is a convergence of design. And services also eventually converge. So for example, in music, we are slowly seeing a shift from downloads to streaming, and everybody is going to go to streaming eventually. That allows for a parts to assembly kind of mechanism for services, which was never true before. Services tends to be localized and specialized, but when we go to the technological world, it becomes like manufacturing. And economies of scale don't matter much. Costs of entry tend to be very low. And so this is creating a very different environment. Unlike old industries, when we went on from horse and buggies to cars, we actually saw an increase in the size of the sector and jobs. That's not what's happening in music. It's not what's going to happen in publishing, video distribution, anything else. There is a real issue here with the nature of the substitution that's taking place. It's demonetization. It's a lot worse than substitution. We're going to see shrinkages of these industries. What we find in the industry now is an emergence of these platforms and an emergence of bundling strategies. I like to shock myself by asking myself, what happens when Google starts an MBA program? What happens when Google starts a bank? So this stuff is scary. We don't know how far this bundling is going to go. And in fact, again, because of the convergence phenomenon and because of the technology and because of this platform picture, there doesn't seem to be a real limit. These back-end service providers do have a certain advantage because of bundling, brand, and presence, if not entirely because of scale. How do we think of organizations in this picture? Well, think of an organization as a bundle of processes. If an organization is a bundle of processes, and if those are service processes, we can industrialize those processes, and that's exactly what's happening. We did backroom industrialization in the 80s, and now we're doing front office industrialization. We're even industrializing social systems. So industrialization of customer experience, industrialization of white-collar staff functions, even of line jobs, markets, purchasing, sourcing, even collaboration and social communication. Now, what does that mean? Well, look at the organization chart to start with. When we industrialized the backroom, it was technical stuff. And it was different from the rest of the organization. You could decouple it. Now, today, that's not possible. We need an integrated view of organizations which goes beyond hierarchies, matrices, teams, and all of that stuff. We're going to switch from routine jobs to analytical jobs, from sales to solutions. You can already see that. But everybody sees it eventually, because the routine gets taken care of. And so what's left? Let me stop by going back to this slide. This is basically my list. This is what I think of when I think about my own job. How can I industrialize? Because it's going to happen, and you need to do it competitively. And remember that this is not backroom industrialization. It's not factory industrialization. It's industrialized theater, industrialized experience, industrialized social communication, industrialized clubs, convenient umbrella term for all the things we have to do. Thank you.